What is up, guys? This is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm bringing all of you guys my ClownBlade Shaddolls for this brand new July 2015 ban list. So, ever since the new Clash of Rebellion set did drop, I have always wanted to make ClownBlade ever since I actually heard about the deck doing well in the OCG. I really just wanted to make it just because of the fact I really wanted a solid rank 4 toolbox deck that can actually be meta contending. So, of course, I was testing ClownBlade with the Lavava Chain previously before the Clash of Rebellion set actually did drop, and again, just getting ready for that deck for when it did come out so I could actually make the pure build and have fun with that. But as all of you guys probably know, Lavava Chain did get banned in the recent ban list, so pure ClownBlade might not be the most ideal thing just because their first turns are now a lot weaker just because they do not have that Lavava Chain to set them up so easily. So I did start looking elsewhere to kind of ways that I could incorporate ClownBlade into other decks, and I actually settled upon a ClownBlade Shaddoll deck for the fact that after talking with a few of my friends as well as just actually playtesting the deck, I found that ClownBlade actually works as a very strong engine within Shaddolls for the fact that it can give your fusion plays a lot more benefits for the fact that you can actually start plussing off of your fusion plays now, as well as of course have the ClownBlade combo to actually use also to get into your rank 4s. So that is the deck I will be presenting to all of you guys today. So let's get right into it as usual, starting with the main deck. So we are going to start off, wow, I couldn't really say that properly. We're going to start off with the ClownBlade engine first, starting with the Performage part of the engine. We have the two copies of Performage Trick Clown, the 3 copies of Performage Damage Juggler, and then finally we have the 2 copies of Performage Hat Tricker. Now, to go over them individually, we have the 2 copies of Trick Clown because ClownBlade Clown, Trick Clown, if you guys can kind of get what I'm saying right there. We have the 2 copies of Performage Trick Clown just because it is part of that very essential ClownBlade engine within this deck, as whenever Trick Clown does hit the graveyard, we can special summon any Performage monster in our graveyard, special summon to our side of the field, make its attack and defense 0, and then we take 1000 damage. Of course, hence synergizing extremely well with that card right there. So again, it just helps us get free summons basically, and it just helps us go into free rank 4s if we can actually get the Trick Clown and the Thousand Blades into the graveyard at the same time. Then we have the 3 copies of Performage Damage Juggler, which is pretty much the searcher between these 3 different monsters. Whenever he is in the graveyard, we can banish him to search any of our Performage monsters, excluding himself, of course. So, again, we can also use Damage Juggler to banish it to get our Trick Clowns into our hand if we ever need it for something like a fusion play or whatnot. And then also, it also has kind of like a Karibo effect, as during our opponent's battle phase, I believe, we can discard it from our hand, and then the next damage we will take becomes 0. So again, it just helps us get it into grave also to, again, get those searches off. And then we have the 2 Hat Tricker, again, just to get us into our rank 4s, and just be a just general good free summon whenever, again, we have to use it for our rank 4 plays. So that is the whole Performage engine I decided to run in this deck. Then, of course, because it is ClownBlade, we have the 1 copy of Thousand Blades because it wouldn't be ClownBlade without it. And we really don't need more copies than 1 for the fact that we really don't want to draw into it. We just want to try and send it to the graveyard through our Shaddoll fusions or something maybe like Mathematician. Just because, again, once we get the 1 copy into grave, we can start cycling it over and over with our Trick Clown. So really, I never found 2 copies or 3 copies to be all that necessary. So I just stuck with the 1. Moving on to the actual Shaddoll lineup, we start off our Shaddoll lineup with the 3 copies of Shaddoll Falco, if I can get all 3 of them out. I still like 3 Falco for the fact that Necros is still a thing, so having the ability to just try and grind them out with the 3 Falco is still very, very helpful, and again, it's just my personal preference. Then we have the 3 copies of Shaddoll Skomata because of the fact that we really want to have the death thinning in this deck because we want to try and see our combo pieces for our clown combos or just general good cards in general. So we want to have the deck thinning so that we can again see our good cards ASAP. So we have the 3 Skomata for that. Then for the rest of the Shaddolls, we just have 2 copies of all the other good ones, which is 2 copies of Shaddoll Beast, 2 copies of Shaddoll Hedgehog, and then finally 2 copies of Shaddoll Dragon. Again, Beast is draw power, Hedgehog just gets you to your fusions quicker, and of course, Dragon is there to help us pop any horrible floodgates that might be on our opponent's board. Moving on, we have the more generic support, which is 3 copies of Mathematician. Of course, because this is Shaddolls, we have to have the 3 Mathematician, because again, he can yard us any Shaddoll that we might want. And also, it's actually really significant for the fact that Mathematician actually can become essentially any fusion fodder that we might need, for the fact that we can also foolish our performance damage jugglers to help us search out our performance trick clowns, which is a light. So again, mathematician can also help us grab a light monster, as well as you can also foolish performance trick clowns straight away, so that we can start our ClownBlade combos and all that kind of stuff. So in this actual specific variant of Shaddoll's, Mathematician is actually way more potent than it normally is. Again, just because you have so many different cards to send to the graveyard to get a variety of plays off. So we have the 3 Mathematician. Then, speaking of cards that work well with Mathematician, we also have the 1 copy of Glow Up Bulb, for the fact that two level 4s, which is usually going to be your Trick Clown and your Thousand Blades, plus this equals Trishula, which is pretty strong. As well as Glow Up Bulb is just a pretty darn solid level 1 tuner, as it also helps us get into our Apocryphal Towers out, since, again, Apocryphal Towers Turbo is still a thing, and again, I really don't like that deck. So I really wanted to try and squeeze it out into this deck, if I could, and I did. So, again, Glow Up Bulb just helps us get into that Towers out, as well as our Trishula play. So it's also pretty cool in that aspect. Then we have the 3 copies of Effect Veiler, for the fact that we do not like the Necros of Trishula and regular Trishula to go off. So of course, having the Veilers for those big blowout monsters is really helpful. So again, we do not get blown out by those freaking ridiculous cards, I swear. Finally, for the last monster we do run, of course, we have the obligatory BLS, because, I mean, what deck that can make Chaos Monsters does not run BLS? Like, seriously, BLS is really good, really, like, I shouldn't really go over this. BLS is important, duh. Alrighty then, moving on to the spell lineup, we have our 3 copies of El Shaddoll Fusion, and then we have our 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. Now, I have bumped Shaddoll Fusion back up to 3 for the fact that I feel like this format going in might actually see a lot more extra deck monsters on board, as BA is still a strong deck, as well as Satellar Knights, as they did just win Worlds. Congrats to that Satellar Knight player who did top it all. But yeah, those 2 decks are very extra deck reliant, as well as the newer decks like Red Eyes, off the top of my head, also will be using their extra deck quite a bit. So having the Shaddoll Fusion to help us punish those plays, as well as, again, to just help us get things like our Thousand Blades or our Trick Clown into grave, is also really helpful. And then, of course, El Shaddoll Fusion is at 3, because, I mean, when do we not run this Fusion at 3? I mean, it's really good. Just because it's a quick play spell that can help us fuse and get us our OTKs and whatnot. Moving on to the other spells, we just have 4 more one-of spells. We have the 1 copy of Allure of Darkness, just to help us dig through our deck quicker and, again, see our combo pieces faster. We have the 1 copy of Foolish Burial to help us set up our Trick Clown and Thousand Blades combo, or just get us any Shaddoll into grave that we might need at any given time. Then we have the 1 Soul Charge to help us get us our really big boards and whatnot. And then finally, of course, we have the 1 Raigeki. I should mention that Raigeki is fairly significant in this list for the fact that you can actually plus quite a bit off of your Trick Clown combos, as well as just constantly just maintaining your advantage through getting those plus 1s over and over with things like Damage Juggler and Trick Clown. So with that, you can actually make really big boards fairly early. So having the Raigeki to help us clear the way to get us to get us into our OTKs can just really help us out. So that'll be it for the spell lineup. Moving on to the traps, we only do run 2. We start off with, of course, the 1 copy of Shaddoll Core, just to help us, again, get into our Star Eater, which, again, like I mentioned, is our Apocryphal Towers out, as well as it also can just help us get into our other fusions. So, of course, we have to have the 1 Core. And then finally, we have the 1 Emptiness. Like I said with Soul Charge and Raigeki, we can make fairly large boards in this deck with the constant amounts of plus 1s that we can get. So, of course, Vanities is in here for that degenerate, make a big board, and then flip Emptiness behind it kind of thing. So, that is going to be our 40th card to round off our main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, it's fairly standard for the El Shaddoll lineup, although there is 1 minor change that there is, so again, we'll get into it when we get there. Starting us off, of course, though, we have the 3 copies of El Shaddoll Nephilim, because we go into this the most often, and we will be going through her as very fast, actually. So, of course, we have to have the 3 copies just to support us and just give us our big beater as much as we possibly can, and as often as we can. Next up, we have our 2 copies of El Shaddoll Window, which again is fairly standard. It's for things like BA and the awkward Quasar deck, which actually might come up soon because of that Sync Constructor deck that will inevitably come out within I don't know how long, but it'll come out soon. So again, Window's also there for that, as well as any other special summon heavy decks like, again, Satellar Knights and whatnot. And then for our final two El Shaddolls that we do run, we have the 2 copies of El Shaddoll Shekinaga. Now, I wish I had room in this extra deck for the 1 copy of El Shaddoll Onoya Tylus, but I really could not find the room for the fact that we did have to have quite a few Synchro and XYZ monsters within this extra deck. So I ended up having to cut the Onoya Tylus, and we also do have the 1 extra copy of Shekinaga in here for the fact that we actually do have quite a bit more Earths than we usually do in any given Shaddoll deck with the 3 Mathematician, 2 Hat Tricker, and the 1 Glow Bulb. If I got all the Earths, I think that is all of them, which is 6 total. So, oh yeah, excuse me, we also do have the 1,000 Blades to make 7. So, of course, we just want to have this Earth, we just have that large Earth engine, sort of. So we do want to have the 2 Shekinagas in here, again, to just support those Earth monsters and to ensure that we can still fuse them away if we need it. So that will be it for the future lineup. Moving on to the Synchros, we start off with our Apocryphal Towers out, which is the 1 Star Eater. Like I've been alluding to quite a bit this profile, Apocryphal Towers Turbo is a very problematic deck, and I really do not want to lose to that degenerate deck. I'm sorry to call it degenerate, but I really don't like facing Towers first turn. So of course, I have the 1 Star Eater in here to just act as in any sort of Apocryphal Towers out, so that whenever they make Towers, I don't just auto lose and I have to pick up my cards and go to game 2, which is really annoying. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Leo, because again, every Shaddoll deck pretty much should run Leo, because making this with Nephilim and Falco is also really strong, as well as it's really good against BA. So of course we have to have the 1 Leo. And then we also have the 1 Trishula, which I finally freaking got, on my lord. I finally got the Trishula, so yay, we have that for future profiles. But yes, we have the 1 Trishula, like I said, with Glow Bulb. We can make Trishula with 2 level 4s, which usually will be our Trick Clown and 1,000 Blades, plus the Glow Up Bulb, and that will equal a Trishula. And of course, Trishula can blow out opponents really, really easy. So we have the 1 Trishula to round off our Synchro lineup. Moving on to the XYZs, we have actually quite a few. We have the 1 copy of Performate Trapeze Magician for the fact that it is a rank 4 Shark Fortress, which is really cool, as Trapeze Magician plus this card is actually an OTK, so that's also pretty cool. Like, and again, just help us push for that really huge damage. And also, it also floats whenever it does, I believe, get destroyed and sent to the graveyard. We can special summon any Performage monster from our deck, so it also kind of pays for itself, which is also really, really cool. So we do have the 1 Trapeze Magician. Then we also have the 1 copy of Downer Magician, because we actually run quite a few spellcasters within this deck now, just because we are running that Performage engine. So just having a simple monster to go into to just help pierce our opponent is really, really nice. Now, I will say, though, that if you are one of those high-rolling players with quite a bit of cash, I would take out this Downer Magician for a number 106 Giant Hand, because it's probably better in this deck than this Downer, as Downer is almost kind of like a filler, but it does have its merits as well. But I personally run a Giant Hand, but I really don't have $1,000 just lying around, so I do not have a Giant Hand, sadly. But again, if you do, hey, take out the Downer Magician, put a Giant Hand. But as of right now, I am running Downer just because I don't have a Giant Hand. Moving on, we have our 1 copy of Exciton Knight, because we have to have some board nuke somewhere in our extra deck majority of the time, just again, for those situations when we are quite behind our opponent, and just to have a way to kind of even the playing field. Then we actually have the 1 copy of Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon. We have this in here for the fact that, first of all, it's a fairly huge beater, as we can get it up to fairly large attack stats. And we also do run the Dark Rebellion for the fact that it does detach 2 materials whenever it does activate its effect. So if we ever do make this with things like a Trick Clown as well as a 1,000 Blades, we can actually detach both of them, make the Dark Rebellion really big, and then just get the Trick Clown and the 1,000 Blades for free. I also noticed that my backlight did go off mid-video. That's kind of awkward. I apologize for that. I guess my phone got kind of overheated or something, so please excuse that random light failure. But we're almost done, guys, so don't worry. The final extra deck monster we do run is the 1 copy of the Castell, because also Castell is a very, very good removal for the rank 4 pool. And of course, like I said with Dark Rebellion, it also detaches 2 materials. So if we ever do make the Castell with 1,000 Blades and Trick Clown at the same time, we can again detach both materials and then get back Trick Clown and 1,000 Blades after the Castell effect, and again just go into another rank 4. And then finally, of course, got to show off the Yusei token, which I have sitting at the bottom of my extra deck all the time now. So yeah, Yusei token. So, I guess that'll be it for this Shaddoll ClownBlade deck profile for this brand new July 2015 format. Again, I do apologize for that random light failure. I'm hoping that won't happen too often. So, again, I will apologize for that. I hope you all did enjoy this deck profile, though. And as always, this is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift. And I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye-bye.